What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to the Dodgers Nation post-game show. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. Welcome to a positive episode. We haven't had one of those in a while, but the Dodgers, the offense erupts. They beat the Cardinals by a final score of 12-6. The first time in 11 games where the Dodgers have scored more than 5 runs. The first time since June they've been in double digits. Mookie Betts has 3 hits. He reached base 4 times. Max Muncy hits 2 home runs. Teoscar Hernández hits 2 home runs. Emmet Sheehan pitched well, and it was just an immediate vibe shift tonight for this Dodgers team. And here to break it down with me, your favorite here at the live post-game shows here at Dodger Stadium, NBC LA's Michael Duarte joins the show with me. Michael, a very different vibe at the stadium tonight to see this offense finally erupt after averaging less than 5 runs per game for over a month now. It was great to see tonight.
Yeah, I feel like I've been screaming from the mountaintops for the last month just how important Max Muncy is to this lineup. You're now seeing it play out on the field. The Dodgers getting double-digit runs for the first time since June 22nd. That was a week before, maybe 8, 9, 10 days before Muncy went down with that deep bone bruise in his knee that missed a lot of time. But you're just seeing how important he is to this lineup. He lengthens the entire lineup. He takes professional at-bats. He makes the pitchers work. He goes deep into counts. He makes hard contact even when he hits an out, like his last at-bat last night in the bottom of the 9th. And then obviously when he's going right, we know how powerful and potent Max Muncy can be. 2 home runs tonight. Another stat I saw that was crazy, Doug, I think he had more than 4 RBIs. That was the 5th time he'd done that this season after missing an entire month. And the slow start he had for the first 2 months of the season. No other play on the Dodgers has more than 3 games like that. Muncy has 5. He's an RBI machine. You can put him at cleanup. You can put him in the 6 hole, and it just lengthens out the lineup and allows the Dodgers to keep opposing pitchers off balance with a left, right, left, left, right, left throughout the lineup, you know? And that's also really big late in innings when the bullpen guys come in where you can't necessarily throw a lefty out there to face 2 or 3 lefties. He's going to have to go left, right, left. So Max Muncy to me has been the glue. And when he's going right, this Dodger team is potent. And what we've seen is when they're going wrong, the whole team is going wrong. And when they're going right, everyone starts to hit. So what do we see tonight? Mookie Betts has his first 3-hit night since the last time he played the Cardinals back in June. Teoscar Hernández is breaking out. Freddie Freeman's breaking out. Ohtani hitting singles and doubles. That's something nice to see, including an infield single, not just homer, strikeout, or walk. A lot to like about what happened tonight with the offense with Max Muncy finally back and rolling again.
Yeah, I think for me, like the crazy thing about this game is, first of all, check out our big DN logo here. The crazy thing to me is last night you had 3 hits total. Tonight you had 3 extra base hits in the first inning alone. You ended up with 17 hits in the game total. And I think it's not just getting the hits, is the type of hits they had, right? And we know that when this team is at its best, you're slugging, you're hitting the ball over the wall. And in this one, you look at that first inning, you start to get things going, and then really it comes down to Max Muncy and Teoscar Hernández. Back-to-back home runs there in the 3rd inning. That gave the Dodgers a 5-2 lead at the time. It was the first time that we had Dodgers players hit back-to-back home runs since Shohei and Mookie did back on May 19th in a loss to the Diamondbacks. So first of all, can't believe a team with this much star power, these sluggers that they have, to not have back-to-back home runs in well over 2-3 months at this point. But I think when you look at this offense, you said it best. Max Muncy is the key to this offense. We know you have superstar talent in Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, but he's the straw that stirs the drink for this offense. And I think that you just look at how this team was hitting, how the run production was at an all-time low when he was out. And it's just astonishing to me because, I mean, this is a guy that, like we said, he's on a $10 million club option. It's not like he's on one of these big, mega $100 million contracts like some of his teammates. This is wild to me. So when he went down on July 3rd, the Dodgers were averaging 5.6 runs per game. That led all of Major League Baseball. In the 25 games that he was out, the Dodgers averaged 3.52 runs per game. That was last in baseball.
Correct. And I saw that stat. I want to know how many times did they actually reach that average without Muncy? So how many times did they score 6 runs a game in those 25 games Muncy was out? Maybe once, twice? I don't think it was very often.
Yeah, I mean,
they were able to get there. And then sometimes they got there and still lost, as we saw when they were slumping. You know, they would lose 7-6 or 9-7. So it's good to have Max Muncy back. Look, I'm going to play the bad news bear guy right now. Max Muncy's offense is really what helps this lineup on the offensive end. His defense, and he'll even tell you after this game, he committed an error in this game. With the knee injury, he's not as spry as we're used to. He's not as good as his off the bat skills. First reactions to getting to balls are not there. We know he has been probably sub-average defensively at third base, the hot corner for most of this season. So we get that part of Max Muncy back. We can't forget that. But if he's going to hit a couple home runs and knock in 4 or 5 runs, it'll make up for anything he does on the defensive side of the ball. But like I said, it puts a lot of pressure off the guys at the front. Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, who've been struggling with Max Muncy out for a while. You could argue Mookie all season long, though. But knowing that you have a guy in that 4, 5, 6 spot in the lineup that can knock guys in, that can do the work that they need to do, that can push everybody kind of back in the lineup. Conforto now bats lower in the lineup. Pages backs lower in the lineup. These are guys that can get on base so that when the lineup flips back over, you got Shohei again with guys on, which was a problem earlier in the season. Shohei was hitting a bunch of home runs, but they were like all solo shots because nobody in the back in the lineup was getting on. Now, hopefully, this pushes everybody back into their right spot in the lineup, and you got guys getting on base for the front of the lineup again for Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, and that's why everything goes right. So now if we can lock up the defense, bullpen's been pitching well. We need to see the starting pitching do well, like Sheehan. We'll see what Shohei can do coming off his cramps tomorrow in a very hot day game. But yeah, you like kind of where this is trending.
Yeah, that's the thing about Max Muncy, right? He can change the game with one swing, and he showed that again tonight. Talk about the defense, asked him after the game how that knee feels and how it's impacting him defensively. Because, look, I mean, this guy had a left knee bruise that a lot of people thought that night was going to be season-ending, that was going to be more severe than that. He was supposed to originally be out 6 weeks, ends up missing 25 games, back faster than anyone could have ever hoped for. So it's going to take some time. And I think that that's the end all be all when it comes to this Dodgers defense is like, if Max Muncy commits the error like he did early in this one that led 2 runs, but his 2 home runs, you don't talk a lot about it. I mean, guys like we do, hardcores will mention it, and certainly defense is important.
You could argue the Cardinals won the game with Lars Nootbaar's diving catch on Mookie in the 9th last night. So you can win games with defense at times too. And maybe if Mookie makes an error, or not Mookie, but Muncy makes an error late in the game that changes the outcome of that game, we'll be on it. But not when he's hitting like he is. And I think he can get the lineup going. We've seen the last 10, 11 games, Freddie Freeman is back to the old Freddie Freeman. He's hitting over 300 his last like 2 weeks. Teoscar Hernández, finally turning into the Teoscar Hernández we knew from last season, 2024. Hits 2 homers tonight. It seems like over the last, I don't know, week or so, Teo's starting to turn things around again. These are all really, really good signs for the Dodgers offense. Now we just need the other components. I think last time I came on your show, I said, you know how you want to fire on all cylinders? They were firing on no cylinders. Well, seems like 1 or 2 of these cylinders is up and running, right? So now we just got to get them all 5 going by the end of September and October.
Yeah, and tonight was a great sign, not just about Max Muncy, but Teoscar Hernández. Last thought on Max Muncy, too, is the Dodgers are going to get the best version and the most incentivized and motivated version of Max Muncy down the stretch. A $10 million club option. Yeah. He wants to finish his career here, and we know he doesn't want to do that on that contract, right? He wants a multi-year deal, and if he finishes this season like he did the couple months before he went injured, you're looking at a Max Muncy that if he entered the free agency market for whatever reason, he could be a hot commodity. If they pick that up and they trade him, he could be a hot commodity. So it's just another storyline to consider towards the end here. But the big story tonight was Mookie Betts. So there was some debate. Was he over his last 22, over his last 21? Bottom line, he ended an ugly skid tonight, ground out in his first at-bat, but then he doubled in his second at-bat, singled, walked, and I think what stands out with his at-bats, where we saw him take strike 3, right? There were some borderline pitches, Ramon de Jesus, kind of making me wonder if Angel Hernandez really had retired or not last night. But what really stands out to me is not taking those borderline pitches, fouling some tough pitches off, deep at-bats, still able to get the results. And the issue for Mookie all season long hasn't been making contact. It's been barreling up baseballs, hitting the ball hard. Hasn't been striking out a ton. Tonight, those hits Both hard hit balls, the first two. The last one, another hard hit ball, 95 miles per hour off the bat or more. So I was impressed by Mookie. I have to admit that yesterday, the whole ovation thing, you wondered, would that have an impact on him? It looked like there was something more deeper as far as bat speed and just swing mechanics. But he even said after the game that, look, you saw a smile on his face when he was asked about the ovation. He gave Dodgers fans a lot of love. He called it special. And he said it was great to know that whenever he's going through something like this, the Dodgers fans have his back. And he said, hey, I'd rather not get an ovation because that means I'm not struggling. But I thought that was cool for him to acknowledge that after the night he had tonight.
Well, it seemed like he didn't want an ovation to come because he was struggling. He wants an ovation when he has, multi-homer game or hits a walk-off or something, and he wants the fans to chant his name, but he wants it when he's doing good things at the plate, and he had a good night tonight. Now, I'm going to play realist a little bit here. You guys aren't going to like that. Two things here. One, we're seeing minor league Mookie Betts right now. And what I mean by that is, talking to him after the game, he said he went back and studied his swing all the way back to when he was in the minor leagues, AA, AAA with the Red Sox organization, to see what he was doing with his swing, to see how his body was working, to do anything to go back to kind of reassess, take a reflective look at yourself in the mirror. What was I doing back then when I was just a young, hungry player trying to come back up and didn't have this $350 million contract? And to see someone go back to try to make it work, I like that. I like that ability to reflect and go back, and to go back to all the previous versions of ourselves to find the best version of ourselves in the present day. So that's something that Mookie shared with us. That's really important to know, that he's literally looking under every rock and through every corner to try to find a way to get back to the way we know Mookie Betts can be. And then the second thing is Miles Mikolas, right? The guy's got over a 5 ERA. The Dodgers have hit him well. Mookie Betts in particular, 5 for 12 in his career off Miles Mikolas. He got these guys right. Now, hopefully this is not a one-off. This is not an anomaly. This is something that you can build off of. Sonny Gray is a vet. He's been very good for the Cardinals. He did pitched a great game Monday night. You got Mikolas today. You have, I think it's Lieberman or something tomorrow. It's a guy you should be able to also get some hits against. You got Ohtani going on the mound tomorrow in a day game, gentleman's special. So the fans are going to be pumped up to see Ohtani pitch. Build off of this, but I want to let you know, this might just be this Miles Mikolas anomaly. You know what I mean? They're not facing the Brewers pitching staff, and we saw what they did to them here. They're facing a pitching staff they should be able to do this against.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got to appreciate the level-headed approach and just the perspective, because it takes more than one game to get into a slump. It takes more than one game to get out of a slump. And I think Mookie was very truthful and genuine when he said, hey, I talked about feeling good after a game I've had in the past, and I still went back to that slump. So I think even Mookie has told himself, hey, I need to see results for an extended period of time to feel really good about my swing. But I do love that you bring up the part about him going back and watching some of his minor league footage, right? Because Mookie wasn't a first-round pick, second-round pick, third-round pick. He was the 172nd pick in the 5th round. So it's not a guy that has had this game given to him, right? He's had to outwork guys. And I think this is the perfect situation for him to prove once again that he's resilient, that he can adjust. And I also, too, like the fact that instead of staying in the cage and being a cage rat and going swing after swing after swing, he goes out there and studies film, because that's what you've heard the last couple of weeks, is that he's just been in the cage, taking more swings, when that not always is the best plan to get out of a slump. So we'll see if we look back a month from now, month and a half from now, and Mookie's taken off from tonight. That means you could say, hey, the ovation did something. Miles Mikolas did something. I want to point one thing out. You mentioned Miles Mikolas. I'm not going to let him escape. Let's not forget what he said before opening day last year. Miles Mikolas, quote, "We're not exactly a low payroll team, but you got the Dodgers playing checkbook baseball. We're going to be the hardest working group of Midwestern farmers we can be. It would be great to stick to it to the Dodgers, to stick it to the Dodgers." So if you talk about farmers, hopefully they harvested a new version of Mookie Betts. And if Miles Mikolas got this team going, wouldn't that be something?
Miles Mikolas, to use your farm analogy, looked a little bit more like fertilizer out there on the mound tonight, the way the Dodgers were hitting him and the success they had against him. And maybe it'll be Miles Mikolas that got him right. But what I wanted to say when it comes to Mookie Betts, you and I noticed this, right? While he was going wrong, and he still might be going wrong, like you said, he's had multiple 3-hit games this season. He had 2 of them against the Cardinals in St. Louis in June. And then he goes 0 for 20 after. So he doesn't want to put the cart before the horse here. But what we've noticed with Mookie and his struggles is he's late in pitches and he's uppercutting pitches. He's coming out under the ball and he's hitting these shallow pop flies to right field. And even though we wanted it to drop and Nootbaar makes a great play, that's what we've seen Mookie hit, these lob, can of corns to right field over his slumps. That shows me he's behind. He's not seeing pitches well, reacting, and his swing's not hitting in the path the way he wants it to, where he's squaring the ball up, like you said. His first hit tonight to square up a double to left field. Good sign. Hard contact on the single. Another hard contact again. These weren't bloop shots to right field, which would tell me he's still struggling seeing pitches. He's still struggling getting the bat speed on these pitches. So hopefully being able to pull the ball and pull the ball hard is a sign that Mookie's starting to see things. And he worked some good counts tonight. A lot of 3-2 counts. That means he's seeing pitches better. Even when he struck out last night on what was a ball, that was a bad call. We all knew that by the ump. We're ready for ABS, Commissioner Manfred, sooner than later. But it's a good thing to see if Mookie is recognizing pitches better and he's getting on top of pitches, squaring him up and pulling the ball. Those are really good signs. Absolutely.
You bring up a fantastic point in that those were good at bats. And it did feel like his approach, his mindset in the box was like, hey, I'm a little more comfortable in here. Like, I'm not thinking something bad's going to happen, like a lazy fly out, like a strikeout, like a ground out. It looked like he was up there, even in at-bats where he didn't get the results. The first at-bat of the game where he grounded out after the Shohei Ohtani double, Shohei advanced to third and would later score, right? So, like that, he needed something to feel really good about, and you got that early on, and you saw those results throughout the game. And we'll see if this is the game that marks Mookie Betts' change. That remains to be seen, but I do look at the swing, the top hand, the hard contact, the confidence. This is a Hall of Famer, right? This is not a run-of-the-mill all-star guy, right? This is a guy that is going to be in Cooperstown one day. So let's not forget that. He's got a lot of pride. Dave Roberts has had his back. You've had people like myself. I'll just come out and admit it that, hey, I thought that the best thing for Mookie would be to move down the order just for the simple fact that there's less pressure on you. But you bring up the point about Max Muncy taking some pressure off. The Dodgers actually scored a run before Max Muncy had his first at-bat, and he would hit a home run and make it 2-0 Dodgers. So it was really an encouraging night. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where now that we've experienced an explosion, it's like, man, like it's been rough for a long time. And you look at the Padres tonight, Mason Miller, he blows it. Padres are able to get that win. The Dodgers have a real opportunity to get hot at the right time while their rotation is completely stable at this point and solidified with a bullpen that's looking up. You have a real chance to run away with the division in the next week alone. So I think that's what's exciting, is that this offense is coming alive right before this big series against the Padres that starts next week.
Well, here's something to think about, Dodgers fans, as you look ahead a little bit. Obviously, we have Shohei Ohtani pitching on Wednesday, tomorrow in a day game. And then we would expect with an off day Thursday, he'd line up again the following Wednesday in Anaheim. Well, then if you look ahead, if he went Wednesday again, which is kind of what they've been doing, well, that puts him in Colorado against the Rockies. They didn't start him there when it would have been his normal rotation the last time they were at Coors Field. Coors Field can be wonky for guys. The elevation does things for the pitches. And guess who they play right after Coors Field? They play the Padres. And those are going to be, I think they got 6 games against the Padres in those like 10 days. Those are 2 important series for the team chasing you in your rearview mirror. Obviously, we know Mason Miller underwent a nice little hour-long initiation video when he joined the Padres on how much he's supposed to hate the Dodgers in this rivalry. I know you've been talking about it on your show. So that'll be Mason Miller's first taste of it. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, mark it on your calendar, if they push Ohtani's start back so that he starts Friday instead of Wednesday in Colorado. He starts Friday against the Padres. That would be pretty big move, and I think that's what the Dodgers and this front office end up doing. Going down the road for that.
Yeah, I mean, the rotation as it stands right now, you could say it's pretty much set, but at the same token, when you have pitchers that are healthy and filling that rotation, you do have the flexibility to move guys back. And we all know that Shohei Ohtani, when he made his debut this season on the mound, he wanted it to be against the Padres in that game. So I love that. I mean, we'll see if that happens. Yeah, I think anytime you have a guy that's still working his way back, you want to avoid Coors Field at all costs. It is like playing bowling with the bumpers on. It's just not fun. It's a wacko area, and hopefully you just find a way to win those games no matter what. But you look at the pitching side tonight, Emmet Sheehan, outside of, ran some traffic early, he started to really feel it, and he found him and Dawn rushing behind the plate. I thought was so impressed the way he can call a game. Ben Kasparius kind of get hit around a little bit. Anthony Bonta gave some runs at the end. Alexis Diaz. It's always tough to evaluate pitching in a blowout, and you didn't have to use your high leverage guys. But I thought Alex Vesia coming in.
Vesia's been your best reliever, high leverage reliever, not just in the last month or two, but I mean, we can go back 3 months. They're using him in the most high pressure situations in the game, but arguably you could make the case with Tanner Scott down, Kirby Yates down. He should be in the closer role right now. At least that's how I feel about it. But we talked about this the last time you joined us before the All-Star break, and it was, what do the Dodgers need to do? Do they need to go all in? Do they need to make these big aggressive moves and shore things up? And I kept saying that they're going to bolster themselves and make additions just by getting guys healthy to this roster. It was the most important thing than having to go swing and make a big trade just to win the July 31st MLB trade line deadline headlines. So you get Blake Snell back. That moves a guy like Ben Kasparius back into the bullpen, back where you can use him for just 1 inning, not have to piggyback a guy or start a game or pitch multiple innings. It moves Justin Robleski, who's been awesome for the Dodgers this season. It moves him back to the bullpen, where now he can come in and give you a 3-out save, and we might see him do that on Wednesday, piggybacking Ohtani. And then by doing that, you allow the bullpen to kind of rest up, right? Not have to pitch 6 innings a game and have to get overworked, where they've been the most used bullpen. I think maybe at least, if not the most used bullpen this year, I think like top 3. So that allows them to rest a little bit. You get healthy guys that way. You go at a guy like Brock Stewart. The one thing I'll say about the Dodgers deadline moves, I think 7 closers who are on teams as a closer who had 10 or more saves this season all got moved at the deadline. And if you had told me 7 closers were going to get traded at the deadline and not a single one was going to the Dodgers, I would say that's a failure on the part of this front office. I would have liked to have seen them get one of those 7 closers on this roster, especially seeing ultimately what the cost was for Duran, what the cost was for Bednar, what the cost was for Helsley, who used to pitch for these Cardinals as a closer. That's the one thing I am disappointed that they missed out on. But hey, if Tanner Scott comes back here, we know he threw today a bullpen session. If he comes back in the next couple weeks and he's back to the Tanner Scott that he was last season, okay, then this team is finally right. And like you said, now you're firing on the bullpen cylinders. Your starting pitching has depth. Roki Sasaki is going to throw a 3-inning sim game soon. That means he's probably a few weeks away from returning, giving you even more depth. They turned Bobby Miller in the minors into a relief pitcher, and he's coming out and he's throwing unhittable stuff for just 3 outs for 1 inning. So they have options, and things are starting to roll. You just got to hold off the Padres. But kind of as we talked about, needing like a kick in the ass, right? You know, they call up Alex Freeland, a young guy making his MLB debut. That always kind of gives you a kick in the ass. They bring in some new guys, Alex Call and Brock Stewart. Those guys are hungry. I talked to Brock. He, as much as he missed Minnesota, where he kind of reinvented himself and became a really good pitcher, he's now going to play for a championship and be able to defend the title. Having guys like that who weren't on this team last year that are hungry and want to help, that's going to help boost these guys. Getting Blake Snell back is that kick in the ass boost. And finally, looking in those standings and seeing the Padres are right up your butt again, that's going to also, I think, hopefully get these guys to focus and lock in and start to play some meaningful, high-pressure, urgency baseball here heading into August, whereas, you know, in past, they might have a double-digit lead in the division and they're in cruise control. So that's a good thing to see as well.
Yeah, meaningful baseball, I think, only helps this team for sure. I mean, you would think that a team that's played so much baseball the last couple of years could use a nice cushion in the division, rest guys down the stretch. But we see with that break after the season, if you win your division, heading into NLDS, what that can do to an offense and them coming out cold. So I like meaningful baseball. I think it's good for the game. I think it's especially good for this Dodgers team that they get up for big series. They get up for big games, and they're certainly going to get up for that Padres series. But a couple of things I want to touch on that you mentioned. Talk about this bullpen, right? And a lot has been made about the fact that their relievers have pitched more innings than any relievers in baseball. But the truth is that the guys that have pitched those innings are guys that will not be a part of this team. Some are already not a part of this team. The Lou Trivinos, the Matt Sowers, the Luis Garcias, right?
Jack Little, who just got DFA.
Jack Little got DFA. The list goes on and on and on. And the guys that are getting back and are still working their way back are their core guys that they were expecting to have all season long. So if you want to play the if game for this team, it starts with the bullpen now, which is a little ironic because last year that was the strength of this team. The bullpen was a big reason why, along with Yamamoto, why the Padres went 24 innings without scoring a run in that NLDS. So comes down to a lot of things, really. I mean, Tanner Scott, Dave said, trending the right direction, feeling good. Michael Kopech is antsy to get back. How's that knee going to be? I think he's one of the biggest. I actually think that Kopech is one of the biggest X factors. And you mentioned Bobby Miller.
Mason Miller. You know what I mean? He's a guy that's going to go out there and throw triple digits. If you need a guy
100%. And
heat, he's your version of Mason Miller, what the Padres got at the deadline.
And I think, too, if you want to kind of like do the little apprentice thing, I would love to see Michael Kopech sit down with Bobby Miller, who has gone 3 scoreless since transitioning to the bullpen, and say, hey, like, you were a starter, went to the bullpen, was able to carve out a role, like give you some pointers. But the truth of the matter is, Blake Trinan, Alex Vesia, I think the thing with Brock is it really just comes down to, can he do anything near what Evan Phillips did for this team, right? They're not asking for a superstar closer, but with so much made about the bullpen, and you're going to have a tight game at some point during the postseason, the Dodgers are going to win or lose the World Series once again based on what happened tonight. Will their offense hit in the postseason? Because when they lose, it's never because of the pitching. Like, it wasn't because of the pitching in 2023, and it wasn't because of the pitching in, it
absolutely was the pitching in 2023.
I totally disagree.
Absolutely the starting pitching.
You
can't. I mean, what did Mookie give up in game 1? It was like 7-0 by the time he.
But James Outman dropped.
I know, but you can't.
But the truth of the matter is,
offense in a playoff game to go score 9 runs.
But the truth is,
starting pitcher
Mookie and Freddie Freeman did not show up that series. And when your stars don't hit, you don't win games. And the truth is, if you outslug your opponent, if you outhit your opponent in the postseason, you have a 690 win percentage, right? So I still think it's going to come down to the offense and the starting rotation staying healthy. Tonight was a good sign, though.
Yeah. So to your point, I'll say a couple things. First and foremost, look, Mookie can struggle the rest of the season as long as he does what he did in last October, starting in game 3, I think, against in the NLDS against the Padres, even though he got robbed of a homer in game 2. But Brent Honeywell got Mookie Betts right, and we got Mookie Betts for October. Freddie, you didn't really even have a good version of Freddie until the World Series, and he just caught fire, went scorched earth because he was dealing with multiple injuries. Shohei had an okay DS and CS, then he gets hurt and didn't have a great series. So you don't necessarily need everyone to fire on all cylinders. And to your point, no, you really do need really good starting pitching and good bullpen play.
Well, of course, Lance Lynn and Bobby Miller, we understand that, but
because when you have an entire week to scan, prepare, strategize for one opponent. Whereas when you're going through the 162 grind of a marathon season, regular season, you maybe get the night before, the day when you come into the stadium here, you get a couple hours to prepare for that day's starting pitcher, that day's staff. When you have a lot of time to prepare for your opponent, it makes the game a lot smaller, a lot tighter, and you only need 3 runs, 5 runs will win a game for you, right? You'd love it if they won a 9-7 slugfest. That just doesn't really happen very often in postseason baseball. So you need your starting pitching to be on, you need your bullpen to be on, you need your defense to be on, and you just need a few guys to be hitting at the right time. But to your point, I don't care if the Dodgers got Eugenio Suarez, Mason Miller, Duran. I don't care if there was like 50 plus trades. I don't care if they had 20 of them and they had built the best team ever on paper. If Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Muncy, if your guys aren't hitting in the postseason, you're done. You're F no matter what. You know what I mean? If Blake Snell's not healthy and Yamamoto's not healthy and Glasnow's not healthy, you're F'd in the postseason no matter what. So to me, health and people performing to the back of the baseball card, as Dave Roberts liked to say, is way more important than winning the trade deadline or any moves you can get. And we won't even know any of those questions that you just mentioned because, as you saw, Mookie and Freddie couldn't hit the broadside of a barn in 2023. They struggled in 2022 against the Padres in that series. So, they did it last year. And the last thing I'll say about that, because it's going to bring us full circle to the very first thing we talked about on this show, Max Muncy, right? How valuable was Max Muncy the clubhouse leader, the veteran, the guy who got together with Freddie and Mookie last October and said, we're going to have during these 5 days off while the wild card games are playing, where the last game of the regular season ended before we ended up being the Padres in the NLDS. We are going to have every single player, and you talked about this a lot on your show, every single player here to watch these games in the stadium. Forget your wives, your families. For the next 3 weeks, we just need to win 11 games. It's about the boys, and we're going to come together and grow together and be this cohesive group. That was a Muncy idea. Muncy's the one who talked about Brent Honeywell throwing to Mookie Betts and getting guys right. Muncy was a leader in the clubhouse. That's the glue we were talking about at the start of this show. It's not just on the field. It's not just in the batter's box. What he does to the locker room as well. It's the leadership. It's the being able to pull guys aside and talk to them. It's the ability to meet with the front office, meet with the other veterans on this team and say, this is what we need to do to win 11 games in October and be the champs again. And that's something that Muncy is going to be imperative to, as is Freddie and Mookie, but Muncy's really important in that role. And to your point, why, yeah, I'm sure they'll pick up that club option, but why they might add a couple more years at the end of it for a higher price if Muncy ends up doing that same thing and showing his value to this team when it comes October as well.
Yeah, and I love all that. I really love the fact that Max Muncy is finally getting his flowers from Dodgers fans out there, because they've seen what it's like for him to struggle and what that means for this offense. They've seen what it's like for him to have success and what it means. And then when he's completely out, they just fall off a cliff. And I think all the intangible stuff is huge, because he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's respected by the Hall of Famers in that clubhouse. So I think that you're absolutely right. I think that one thing about this Dodgers team is huge kind of in general too. They do feel like a team that, I hate the whole, oh, is this team going to flip the switch? I do think there has been a pacing out of this season, and they see that postseason light at the end of the tunnel. You're going to get big, meaningful baseball in 2 series against this Padres team. You come out of that with a pretty sizable lead. Then it's go time to try to make history and become the first team to go back-to-back in a long, long time. So I totally agree. I still think that lots of moving parts. I will say it is going to ultimately hinge on last season. You get the timely hits, you get the big Freddie Freeman home runs, you get 2 home runs, the NLDS. Like, sometimes when the margins are thin, a 2-run game like the Padres game in Game 5 felt like them scoring 5 to 10 runs because they were the team that put the offense together. But you've got the horses in your starting rotation. Last year, you had 2.5 starters, and you found a way to win a World Series. So I think you're right, though. It is time for Dodgers fans to move past what they did or what they didn't do at the deadline and focus on the internal talent that they have, which is still better than every team in baseball. Like, all these teams that made moves, if you gave them the opportunity to do a 1-for-1, their roster for the Dodgers, they would make that trade, right? So let's not forget that.
I mean, the Padres traded their number 1 prospect in their farm system, the
number 3 prospect in baseball,
in all of baseball, for a relief pitcher. And one who just gave up a 2-run bomb and blew a save today, I might add, even though they won the game, like you said. But you don't just trade your top prospect for a relief pitcher, because, as we're seeing with Tanner Scott, you could be the best reliever in baseball one year, and you can be below average and struggling the next year. That's just the way it works for relief pitching. It's why Andrew Friedman has never reinvested in it. So I say that because the Padres are mortgaging a lot of their future right now. And yes, they've proven that they can also move off guys, like when they traded Soto to the Yankees, and replenish that farm system if they need to. But they didn't move Cease for any picks, which we thought they might do because he was a rental. Or Michael King, for example. So, they've mortgaged a lot of their future to try to keep up with the Dodgers and have a chance to catch them and beat them this year. Hasn't worked for them in the past. We'll see. But meanwhile, at the deadline, the Dodgers trade Dustin May as a rental, and they go get a first-round pick in the 2024 MLB draft last year, number 13 overall. They're replenishing their system while making trades to improve on the margins this year. Replace a guy like Evan Phillips, which they feel like they did with Brock Stewart. Replace James Outman with Alex Call, and keep moving and bank on the guys they have. And as we just talked about again, I'm going to reinforce it. Bank on the back of the baseball card, that these guys will be what's on the back of the baseball card when the lights are the brightest and the pressure's on. And that's the other thing, is they have the experience, whereas you showed when they were backs to the wall against the Padres last year, that proved to be important. The Padres couldn't hit anything after that, and the Dodgers could. And that kind of experience, knowing that it's not over when you're down in a series, when your back's against the wall, that's a good thing to have if you're the Dodgers, and they got it in abundance with these guys.
They've been there, done that. They've been there and won that, and that definitely plays a a huge role in the postseason. All right, some quick ones here. Let's just have some fun with this. Is tonight the turning point for Mookie Betts? I've kind of gone back and forth in my mind throughout this show. I look at the advanced stuff, and a lot of that says that just a lot of things have trended in the wrong direction. Having said that, this is a winner at life. This is a future Hall of Famer. I would like to think that tonight springboards Mookie, but we'll have to see more. I'm still in TBD mode, but where are you at? Is tonight the turning point for Mookie Betts?
I mean, I'm trying to see who he's going to face when the Blue Jays come to town this weekend. Like, do we know the probable starters of that series? It's TBD right now for the Blue Jays, so we don't really know because momentum is as good as the next day's starting pitcher, right? If the Miz was,
This has a lot to do with the Miles Michaelis, right?
Yeah, Miles Michaelis, I think, helped get Mookie right. If this, look, we've talked about his confidence. You know, people were talking about mental health days and things like that. Mookie doesn't strike me as a guy lacking for confidence in anything he does. He's one of those guys, and we all know them in our lives, who they pick up any sport and they become like a pro at it within a few weeks. Look at him as a bowler. He's one of the, probably, if he wanted to go pro in bowling, he'd probably be one of the best bowlers on the planet. And you can say that for a lot of different sporting things that Mookie does. He was a high school basketball player, tremendous basketball player. He can just do any sport at a very high level. I don't think he's lacking confidence, but I think he was lacking that, what his work that he's been putting in and going back and looking at himself and trying new things, seeing the results on the field. He's now starting to see a little bit of results. That can help this unwavering confidence that someone might have. It can help kind of, if there was anything in there, you're now seeing the results on the field play into his behavior. And so, like I said, he could face a pitcher and go 0 for 4, but as long as he's not late, he's not popping up to right field every ball, he's making hard contact, he's pulling the ball, he's seeing pitches, he's working counts, that's when we know Mookie's right. Even if he's not getting 3-4 hit games or hitting home runs. So we'll look for those things more than I'll look for anything else. But I do think, yeah, that's starting to turn a little bit for him. And I think Max Muncy is going to get a lot of guys right here and better because he's going to be hitting well. Other guys are going to be hitting well. They're going to be seeing more pitches. It all just has a domino effect.
Just the attention that he gets, right?
Yeah. The domino effect is going to benefit Mookie here.
What I'll say about Betts is that this time last year, when he came back after the injury from playing shortstop, I mean, he was not a good shortstop. I mean, he was not a big league caliber shortstop. Worked all off season, turned himself into one. And even though the defense has regressed a little bit, he knows how to kind of hit rock bottom and then make his way to the top. And I think that if Mookie can hit like the Mookie that we've seen throughout his career at the Dodgers, that would be just as impressive, if not more, than going from being a 6-time Gold Glove Award winning right fielder to going into shortstop. That's how bad the slump has been. That's how bad the numbers have looked. For him to get back to putting up MVP numbers down the stretch or anything close to that, be such a great story to end the year, and I hope it happens. Last one here, though. What do you think about the Padres and their onboarding? The Padres onboarding, where part of it is, hey, here's the UPS uniform, here's your locker. Oh, and by the way, we hate the Dodgers. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Because
it's like I said, they watched like an hour-long introduction video of like, this is what it means to play for the Padres. Here's our stadium. Here's our rivals. They probably play all the clips. They probably play the 2022 NLDS on repeat when the Padres beat them in 4 games. So I'm not surprised by it, is what I'll say. You know what I mean, Doug?
Yeah.
The Dodgers have many rivals. You could call the Yankees a rival. You could call the Red Sox a rival. Obviously, the Giants are their #1 rival, and the Padres have just been a team that a rivalry has been budding and building over the last 5-6 seasons here. And you got to meet in the postseason to be rivals, and they've met in the postseason 3 times in the NLDS, and so it's created that. But the Dodgers were the Yankees of the National League, the class of the National League for many, many years. They win their 8th title. The Padres have not won a single title. So they got to slay Goliath and then also go all the way. I thought, Doug, last year, had the Padres beaten the Dodgers, and we talked about it before Game 4 when they scratched Freddie Minute at first base for like an hour before that game, knowing it was a bullpen game. We were like, they're in trouble here. And if the Padres beat them, they might run the whole table and win this thing. And I thought they had a very good chance to do it. I thought they were the most balanced team in the league, and I thought that was the case. I think, again, the National League is just superior, far superior to the American League teams right now. I think the World Series winner is coming out of the National League. And you could argue the Brewers have a shot at it, the Phillies and Mets have a shot at it, and I think the Dodgers and Padres also have a shot at it this year. But the difference between the Dodgers and Padres is exactly what we just talked about at the deadline, right? And talking about this onboarding. All the moves A.J. Preller made at the deadline, 7 new players, trading away his #1 prospect, #3 in baseball for a relief pitcher, all of that is because of the Dodgers. It is all to chase down the Dodgers, who were 3 games ahead of them. They were stumbling, they were struggling, they were not playing up to how everyone thought to expectations. Preller smells blood in the water. He's going for it again because this window is small. Well, guess what? That's not how the Dodgers operate, right? They make their moves in the offseason and they win the headlines of the offseason. They go add Cy Young winners to an already World Series winning staff. They go add the best closer in all of baseball who they took from the Padres in free agency. They don't have to trade away all their top prospects at the deadline. And the good news of that, guys, is they replenish those prospects in the farm system. And now they can make even more moves in the offseason if they want. They're not threatened if a guy is, at the end of his contract. They got guys who can come up and perform well, like Pages, like Freeland, for example. This team is going to be good for a very long time. You were talking about maximizing the window for Shohei, right? But Shohei's still here for 8 more years. And this Dodgers farm system and the ability to attract free agents and the money and payroll that they have, we're not San Diego, right? We don't have to make the moves at San Diego. You don't have to trade away the farm and mortgage the future at the deadline to try to just beat the Dodgers once. That's not how the Dodgers operate. And what they did with Mason Miller and talking about the rivalry and all the moves they made shows me, I like the moves they made, but it shows me they're not in the class of the Dodgers as far as being able to do nothing and still considered the favorites to win the World Series.
You're 100% right. And I always joke that the Dodgers want to win the World Series. The Padres, they want to beat the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. But I think we can all both accept the fact that if you do beat the Dodgers, you probably are going to win the World Series. And look, I don't think there's a lot of great teams this year. I think if the Dodgers were healthy all season, you would have been a 100+ win team, and the sky's the limit with that kind of roster that they have. But I do think that there's no doubt about it. The Padres, they think they can knock off this Dodgers team. The Dodgers, they know that as long as they're healthy and they don't beat themselves and the injury bug doesn't strike too much, that they're going to beat the Padres. But I do think what you said about just replenishing farm systems and things like that, I think the Dodgers' next big star is going to come via trade because you got Kyle Tucker, you got Bo Bichette, guys like that. But I do think a team like the Padres, they say, you know what, like in the offseason, if we're kind of playing a fair game with the Dodgers, even though the market isn't as strong as far as you have to overpay, it's tough to compete with the kind of prospects that they have. So they almost look at, okay, if I overpay in the season when some teams aren't willing to, that's how you can acquire talent like O'Hearn and get the guys they get in Mason Miller and Ramon Laureano and guys like that. But that's going to be fun to talk about. And we're going to do a lot of Padres-Dodgers talk. But we're here at Dodgers Stadium. Dodgers finally get a win, finally get a blowout win, double-digit win, 12-6. Got some comments down below. Rocking with us late, shutting Dodger Stadium down, 11:53 here. Take some comments here. Let's see what's up.
What are the fans saying?
What is Dodgers Nation saying? We got, okay, all right. We've got, I'm on the phone and wear glasses. Okay, it's going down the comments. Ohtani will be our closer. That's a pretty hot take.
I've seen that a lot. Not going to happen.
That's
never going to happen.
Unlikely, just because of the routine, the situation. What would it look like if he's batting, that kind of stuff. So yeah,
yeah. I mean, how long do you think, especially with this lineup, who could get on base, and you might have batted in the 8th inning, for example, and you might be up again in the 9th inning while you're needing to warm up in the pen. I would love to see it happen. Maybe it could happen like a Game 7 of the World Series, like we saw in the World Baseball Classic. No way it's happening in the playoffs or in the regular season at all. Not happening. Bobby Miller would have a higher probability of being the Dodgers closer.
That's a fair take. That's an absolutely fair take. But you guys say goodnight to beautiful Dodger Stadium here at Chavez Ravine. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Every day, viewers, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Go follow this man. He's got great Dodgers takes. Go follow him on X, Michael Duarte, Instagram. He's got a poppin' TikTok. Does the Rams, does the Lakers, LAFC, all LA sports. USC. I mean, it just list goes on. Give him a follow. Give him a follow, and we'll be back with you guys next time here from Dodgers Stadium in the Vin Scully press box. So we'll be signing out. My name is Doug McKain. You follow me at DMAC_LA. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue. And I'm actually going to leave you with the Mookie Betts press conference. You'll hear what he had to say about you guys. Gave Dodgers fans tons of love. The ovation, it wasn't like Trey Turner-esque or anything like that, but it did means something to Mookie, and I want you to listen to this on our way out. But see you guys tomorrow, Dodgers Dugout Live, 11 o'clock with a 1 o'clock game. Shohei Ohtani on the mound, so join us for a little pregame and postgame. See you tomorrow, and remember, as always, think blue, bleed blue, and we're out.
Right now, especially when you have a game like this. We saw the emotions, but get the results.
It's good to get results, but like you said, one game, and every time you talked about this, I went over 20 after, so we'll see about tomorrow.
Is there anything in specific, though, that you are working on right now? Just trying to kind of get that solution there?
I mean, just kind of relearning, going back to the basics, relearning myself. Really just trying to, like I said, relearn myself, and I had to go back and think about what I used to do in the minor leagues and all those type of things, and so it worked today, so we'll see tomorrow.
Was there anything about like the swings themselves tonight, like when you took them, or just the kind of contact you made that kind of felt like something you've been looking for?
Yeah, it was just solid contact finally. So again, I'm not going to get too excited. I got to do it multiple days in a row, and then I'll start to get excited about it.
Broadcast seemed to show you and Freddie kind of talking more even than usual from your past. Like, what was he sort of kind of telling you over the course of today?
I mean, it's just good to get obviously Freddie. We all know who Freddie is and what he's done, and it's just good to talk with someone that's in the grinder with you. You know, that's in the day-to-day with you, and you know, he's just there and he's supporting me, and I just run things by him, and yeah, he's always there for me, and he's always been there, and I love him for that.
You guys show up for each other in so many different ways. I know there have been times in the past where you showed up for Freddie, but can you just talk about the support from the team? I mean, even whether it's long at-bats the other day, results today, all the guys in the dugout cheering on for you, even the fans yesterday. Can you just describe what that's been like, feeling everyone's support during this time?
It's been a beautiful thing, and so I thank you to all the Dodger fans that have just getting that. I wouldn't call it ovation, but whatever it is. It's super special. It's the first time I've ever gotten anything like that. So, obviously, I would prefer not to. But, if I'm in this situation and I know that Dodger Stadium's behind me, it's just a good thing to know that you're supported.
You had that hard hand clap at first base after that fifth inning single. How much of that was just seeing the results and feeling good and getting that frustration?
I mean, it's just that. Just hitting the ball solid, just hitting the ball solid and knowing I can do it.
Okay, when you went back and watched yourself from early in the minor leagues, like you said, like, is there anything that you picked up about just like how your swing worked or your mechanics that you applied that you think might help?
No, I think it was just kind of the process of how I kind of showed up every day and how I kind of put it together. I think it just kind of brought back those kind of memories, and I just try to